everybody, I'm Daniel.
And I'm Jordan.
And I'm Tony.
And we're
Daniel and Jordan.
And Tony. Thanks for coming on the show, dude.
No problem.
Yeah, well, welcome back, guys. This is a different atmosphere. We are not at the home base today. We're here at Tidballs. It's a local bar here in town, and lots of memories and bands have been through here. And Mr. Tony has played here many a times. And thanks for coming all the way from Nash Vegas.
No worries.
Yeah. Well, good afternoon, Jordan.
Well,
I forgot you were even over there.
Thank you. Finally, the star. Huh?
Yeah. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, not much. I've played here as well, Daniel. I don't know if you've known that or not.
Nice.
He could have mentioned me a little bit, but this place means a lot to a lot of people in this town. Live music is getting lost a little bit right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Back in the day, bands get their start with local shows. That's how you got known from people. You impressed your peers. And I think it was a cool way to really write your music and learn your music and progress your songs into like fuller, deeper sounds. And I think nowadays, we record it and then it's on paper and it's done. But it's a cool idea to write your music and play it live and have a venue where there's a community of people feeding off of each other. But I love this place and I'm glad it exists. Yeah,
and it sucks because from what I heard, it was like going to be shutting down, and then they're not shutting down, and hopefully they don't shut down because there's really no local places here. With you being from the area, I mean, and us living here, I don't know of anywhere else to play other than like your garage. You know what I mean? Like,
I think Donna's still has shows down the street. That Donna's was after my time, but I have friends who have played shows there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
A little more dirty.
There's still living rooms of the houses on Kentucky Street and Chestnut. That's where I played shows and house shows and basement
Some of those
shows.
were like the best times for real.
Yeah. St. James Apartments, I noticed that's still here.
Yeah.
Played like my first house show there. I got shut down like after 3 songs. It was incredible.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, there's nothing like going to a house show. There's cars in the lawn. You got the guy on the guitar with his shirt off. I'm thinking of Wyatt. That's the first name that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
I got a local guy here.
Yeah.
And, just everybody's there to have fun and listen to music and, just
blow your eardrums out.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it feels like anyway.
Yeah, you're in that tiny room and they're blasting.
Yeah.
I think that was a time that I hope kids come back around to find, because I think it's important space for young musicians to match up with other musicians in your area and to build a collaboration with each other and to learn each other's music interests and all that. And I think now it's so much on the internet that I hope local music stays alive. I hope it doesn't turn into just big venues for known artists only. Yeah. That local music has a place to play.
For sure.
But who knows what the future is, right? It
Yeah.
might just be an old man thing to say. What do you think? Do you think local music dies?
Do I think it dies? No. Because there's always going to be that nerd who wants a tangible live show to play. I never get out to local shows. I mean, it's just not what I do.
Yeah.
It's like there's a time and a place, and I overdid it for sure. But I had a buddy who came through Nashville, and I told him that I'd go see his show, and so I went on like a Tuesday night at 10 o'clock. I'm an old man, and so I was like sitting at the bar with a Diet Coke watching it, and I was looking at all these punked out kids that were, non-binary.
Yeah.
And with all the different sorts of costume and makeup on. I was like, okay, somebody's carrying the torch.
Yeah.
It's not me, but it is there.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. That stuff is kind of for when you're trying to discover yourself and find yourself. Yeah. And you're right. It is on the phones now, but the way they always go back to old tech. They're going to go back to the old ways.
I agree.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, like playing live, we talked about comedy last time, but comedians, they get on stage and they try out material. Whereas back in the day, before everybody had a laptop with GarageBand on it,
right,
making demos. Yeah, you went and you played 5 songs live, and whatever sucked, you're like, no, let's try that again, or not do that one next time.
Yeah. Yeah. And Donna's does have like that young grittiness, and I think it is just underground now. I think it is just like a phase that we're going through, and I do think that just like Analog, you said, things are going to come back around because the energy of local shows it's just going to be something people strive for because not everyone can play Skypack or whatever you want to call it now. I just hope that in this wave we don't see a large amount of like the cornerstones, but you know how things are. The cornerstones end up leaving. The city's growing so much that someone comes in with money and they soup it all up however they want it and stuff like that.
You know, it's now that I'm thinking about it, when I started in 2002, 2003, there was always this story of like, well, you should have been here 10 years ago. That's when the Bowling Green music scene was really thriving. You'd be like, well, what bands? And they would say the Government Cheese or yada, yada, yada. And I was like, I don't know any of these bands, you know?
Government Cheese.
But like...
Sounds like a band name you'd come up with.
I mean, and Tommy Womack has gone on to do a lot of really cool things. But at the time, it seemed like, well, son, you just missed the party.
Yeah.
The ship has sailed. And we really, in 2003 and 2004, had to like find those avenues. We were too young to play Tidballs. Tidballs was brand new. So it hadn't become a mainstay yet. And we played church basements. We played Java House, which was, now I just drove by it. It's like a counseling place, which is so wild to me.
We need to go there after this.
Yeah. Java House was such a huge staple because they would have open mic nights. The first live show I ever played was an open mic night at the Java House. It's someplace you just go chain smoke cigarettes and play board games, and it was so cool.
Yeah.
And I think that became Rockies later on. But the point is that there was never a great live scene. There might have been pockets of time where there were. So right now, we're just talking about locally, that pocket of time may just be on the down curve and it might come back up.
I think, and you could look at that as opportunity.
Yeah, I was going to say that would motivate me if someone was like, you missed the times. I'm going to be like, my ass, I'm going to show you. You know what I mean? I'm going to bring something to the table.
I was like a cocky teenager where Spencer's Coffee House, they were throwing the best shows. The best shows. It was like at the time when hardcore music was really in.
270 HXC.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I used to write reactionary music to that because I didn't like hardcore. I like punk, so I would write punk songs about hardcore. But I remember the energy was still really cool. Like, oh my God, these kids are coming out of a fucking coffee shop. That's so neat. And I remember there was this guy who hosted the shows, and I was talking to him at the door. And he's like, maybe someday you guys will inherit this. And I said, or transcend it. And he gave me the most like salty look. But I like to go back and be like, told you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I was, a mid-20 something and some 17-year-old kid said that to me, I'd be like, fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah, that is, it's good to zoom out of our own personal time and see things through what the future can be. It just because it seems like pop culture is headed in a direction. There's always cool people.
Yeah, and also the old Jeff Goldblum quote from Jurassic Park: "Life finds a way."
Yeah, life finds a way.
So if there's a group of kids who want to get sweaty in a basement and play electric guitar, those kids will always exist.
I'm all about getting sweaty, but not in a basement.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we usually kind of come into these episodes and kind of talking about our weeks, and me and Jordan live a very boring life. I mean, he just vacuums.
I vacuumed again this week,
and I just work and do the honey-do list. There's nothing fun about it. But Tony over here, on the other hand, has had a pretty big week.
Yeah.
With the new video that you released, and let us know about that, man.
Yeah.
You got questions about that?
Oh, yeah. With the song Counting Sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually, before I watched y'all's interview, I heard that song on your album, and I was like, I actually like this song a lot. And I'm glad that you mentioned you have a video for it now. And we were talking about it. So you have like the mannequin. I love the shot where it looks like it's you, and then it turns out it's the mannequin. Yeah. Did you just filter like a blue screen of your face over it? How did you know? We were talking about it. And would you just set still and you did it all? How'd you do that?
It's actually like much easier than you think. Yeah, I just set up a camera like that and set like this, did the whole lyrics, and then I superimposed that face with a mask onto the mannequin, applied some color grading, some fusion effects, which if you have DaVinci Resolve, you know what that is. Made it look glow, and then I added the TV scan lines, a little flicker fade.
Interesting.
It was very cool.
I did go through a couple different ways. I did shoot me sitting down, and then I actually projected it onto a wall and then shot that. I thought it would make it look more projected, and it did, but I couldn't manipulate it like I wanted it to. So
I see what you're saying.
I didn't use it.
Yeah. And that song too, you did a really good job with like the arrangement where you leave like a ton of space for the vocals to be just big and reverbed out at times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then, at the end you have that Weezer-like riff hammering down and the big screams and all that.
Yeah.
And I love the grittiness of it. But the rest of your album, I feel like it's kind of softer than like your other stuff, right? Yeah. Do you find that's like old age? You've gotten a little softer?
No. No, I feel
Was that
like
offensive?
No. It's nothing to do with old age. Like, I was running at such a high speed for so long that I felt like I was painting myself in a corner with that's the only thing people knew me as. And that's only a portion of my personality, and it was the portion that got popular from anybody that remembers my old ass. So, like, I didn't want to come out and be like, here's Sleeper Agent 2.0.
Right.
I just wanted to be like, all right, here's this part of me that was never exposed. And also, like, I don't know. I just want to make, what? I actually like heard Cigarettes After Sex. You ever listen to that band? And I was like, that's a really cool vocal style. Can I do something like that? And then I tried and failed, but I got pretty close.
Well, I think that's how it starts, is just like a simple idea like that. And then everyone
He just sounds so peaceful. And I really wanted to like not be high up on this like Jack White on cocaine energy. You know what I mean? So,
that's exactly what I was going to say. Is when I heard Sleeper Agent the first time, my first thought was youthful Jack White.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I got that a lot. I mean, ironically, I never listened to the White Stripes.
Yeah.
I was actually referencing more so the Pixies with like,
I hear that too.
Crackety Jones and Mr. Greaves, and him and Jack White have a similar timbre. So, but yeah, every time somebody saw my music videos or heard my song, they'd be like, "Oh, Jack White," and I'd be like, "Oh, okay, whatever." Yeah. So anything to get away from that.
Yeah.
Nothing against Jack White. I think he's made some incredible songs and had many amazing projects.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I agree as well. You at times, I'm trying to think of some like the influences I heard. Do you listen to Passion Pit by any chance?
No, but I mean, they have some great hits.
Yeah. I hear some of like a little Manchester Orchestra kind of. I don't know if there's a lot of Death Cab. I felt like just like a little bit of just like I couldn't pinpoint a band you sounded like, which is, I think, a compliment.
I mean, I mean, I think it's like it can be a gift and a curse, because I do feel like if you're just some Tom, Dick, or Harry and you heard Counting Sheep, you'd be like, that's my favorite fucking song of all time. Who's that guy? Oh, it's Tonyboyy. I'm going to go listen to his album. It's like, there's nothing else on here that sounds like it.
Yeah.
And they're like, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. It's good and it's bad. I feel like it's hurt me in the past many times, because with Sleeper Agent, you heard like Waves was our last song that was somewhat relevant at all. And I feel like people really resonated towards that song. They went to listen to the album and nothing else sounded like it.
Yeah.
So,
that song, I mean, we were listening to it the other day, and I played it for my daughter, who's about to be 12, and she was like, take a picture of it and send it to me, because she enjoyed the song. And was that song on the radio?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so, because I was showing Whitney, and I was like, do you not remember this song? Like, I remember hearing this on the radio. And it first is that first guitar riff, and then when Alex comes in with the vocals, it's just... it's so flowy and free, is the way that it's something you can listen to 365 days throughout the year. There's not a season, certain songs you like to listen to during the winter or when it's raining. Like that song, it fits all seasons for me. And I feel like you could just roll down the window and drive and play that song and just feel the waves,
Yeah.
It was engineered to be that way.
Yeah.
Like that was a time in my life where I was really trying to win, as we call it. And I was really swinging for the fences to try to make a song that everybody could relate to. And I somewhat succeeded, because it did become our most popular song. But at the same time, there's still too much of me in it. So the lyrics are still too fucking weird and they're not relatable. And so like, if I made it more like, I don't know, had like a statement that was more catchy, instead of being like all this existential dread about California and New York and it all crumbling around you. If I made it like, hey, today's the best day of our lives.
Yeah.
Most of us don't read the lyrics anyways.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think a lot of it has to do...
American authors, this is going to be the best day of our lives or whatever like that. People go, oh, I know what that is.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with the tone of the guitar, the riff of the guitar, like that's what catches me immediately. I don't even know what she says at the beginning of the song. And it's not that I don't have a respect for the lyric or anything.
No,
it's simply like I get lost in that tone at that very second. As soon as the synth stops or whatever is in the beginning, it's like real like light and free, and then all of a sudden that picking comes in and I'm like, oh yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I get into.
And there's actually our keyboard player who wrote that guitar lick, and if you play anything around me, I go, I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
And so, I just took his little guitar lick and turned it into a song. I think he had the line, it's like, at least, I think he used to say, at least I got my way, I spit it back at you. And I was like, I'm going to use that and your guitar lick and write a whole song around it. And, he got paid a little extra because he had more contribution.
That's
cool.
Yeah.
Well, you and I always, when we wrote music, like lyrics for the absolute last thing, we were just like, say anything. Say anything.
As long as
melody
it
and
rhymes.
harmony is cool. That's all we want to have people hear is the harmony and the main melody.
And usually we would be like, he would write a verse or a chorus, and then we would just build around that. And it was like, you write the first verse, I'll write the second verse.
Yeah.
It was fun. I mean, fun times. So with releasing that video this past Friday, right? Is that when it dropped? What is like your feelings now, like with you being of, I say old age, I'm not calling you old at all, but being, where you are at musically in your life, the anticipation of a new video dropping, like what does that feel like? You know what I mean?
It's like, usually it's getting everything set up to release it. And so it's not really any anticipation, it's just making sure as I often say, all your I's are crossed and your T's are dotted, which is a reverse. Yeah.
There's nothing like posting a video, which I've done it. I've done it on After School with the Lawsons podcast. Something is spelt wrong at the top. Like one of the handles to the Awesome Lawsons is like the dot is not there. And I'm like, oh my, I'm not going back and fixing this, and,
there's some things you got to let go.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people that can do that though. I mean, I've been there at like 3 a.m. and I'm watching it for the 100th time and like really watching it. And I see one thing and I go, can I leave it alone? And then I go, I can. And I go, no, I can't. So,
I feel it, dude.
Especially if it's a really effects type of video like I do, it's like, 11, 12 minutes per export every time. So you're like, and I've been up at like 3:30 in the morning and then it posted at like 8 a.m. the next day.
I had a I called him. I told him, I was like, dude, I was almost in tears. I was up till 5:30 editing vocals for a podcast. And every time I got done, it didn't line up. So somewhere along the line, I was deleting instead of clipping and taking off the reverb, like from, other people's microphones. Dude, I was up. I did it 2 or 3 times. I was in tears. I had to be up at 7:15 to take my daughter to school. I didn't go to bed till 6. And I was pissed. And I told Whitney, I was like, I couldn't stop because it needed to be done.
Yeah.
And I just got to learn when to put it down because I was aggravated. The next day, did the same thing that I thought, but, it worked. And I'm like, what the fuck was I doing wrong? I don't know if I was just so delusional because I was like lack of sleep. I mean, these lights, I told Jordan, like one of them was like doing this. And that's when it's too much. Like it was moving, you know?
Especially I've learned this, like, so were you editing your own face? Were you staring at yourself? I think there needs to be a study because when I'm making a video, I get so depressed. I think it's something about staring at yourself for so long. And like, if you're staring at yourself, you're clearly picking at yourself. Oh, I look stupid there. Why? Like nobody told me I look this dumb. How come I do that? Oh, I'm so ugly. Even if none of those things are true, if you're staring at yourself for 10, 15, 20 hours, you're going to pick apart yourself so much.
Yeah.
So that plus fatigue and exhaustion and like the creative like draining of like, is this terrible? Or is this not what I want it to be? I think it's a really dreadful process to edit your own videos.
Yeah. Well, don't take this the wrong way, but I think you're fucking beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's the hair.
It's the hair. I wish I had it.
It's funny. Well, Tonyboyy here. I don't even know which camera to look at. This is a different setup, guys, so pardon us. But, Tonyboyy was on After School with the Lawsons. We talked about a lot of cool stuff. But one thing that stood out to you was the video games.
Yeah, so I was going to have to bring
Yeah,
it up.
so-
what do you
Okay.
play?
What am I currently playing? The Tomb Raider remaster.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
They just came out. I don't know. You're
Yeah.
familiar? Yeah. So they took all the old Tomb Raider games from when I was a kid and they put a fresh coat of paint on them. The controls still suck. But I mean, so I replayed that Tomb Raider game and now I'm just going through the entire series.
We're talking
Really?
about PlayStation Tomb Raider, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, PC Tomb Raider.
You're playing on PC, though.
Prior to that, shit, I don't know.
Big single player game?
Yeah,
gamer?
zero multiplayer. Like I don't
Zero
want to. I don't want to.
So it's like a story.
I don't want to. Not well. You know, some games that I don't even play for the story. I mute and watch YouTube while I'm playing.
Really?
So,
Wow.
like there's stuff that I feel like is too story driven, and I just really want to get like the Hitman series.
Yeah.
Love it because I can just set out and do a mission.
Yeah.
I don't have to pay attention to the story.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want something to literally turn my brain off.
Yeah.
You know.
I found myself doing that too because I played a lot of competitive shooter games for a while, and at this point in my life, I don't want to even talk to people.
Exactly.
I'd rather just sit in my room
Yeah.
by myself. I'm playing through Final Fantasy VII Remake right
Okay,
now.
yeah.
And I've found that to be, but I'm involved with the story at this point. But I found that allows me to, surprisingly, the story gets me out of my own head. And that's what I'm looking for, is the story to put me somewhere besides right up here.
Yeah, I'm trying to think the last story-driven game that I really enjoyed was probably Half-Life Alyx.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
So you played VR?
Yeah, well, I bought one for that. Huge
Index?
Half-Life.
Or what'd you buy?
No, I just got like the time was the Oculus, whatever.
Rift.
The one with the wall sensors. Then
Yeah.
later on, I upgraded to the Quest or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm long since over VR though.
Yeah, I kind of am
It's-
too.
well, it's too casual. It's not cool.
Yeah.
You was into it pretty hard when it
Yeah, well,
first
I think
came out.
there was a
Some
lot of
games.
possibilities for it when it first came out, and I feel like the AAA developers were really making cool games for it. But then it just kind of fell off into this like really truncated experience.
Yeah, like almost like mobile game feeling. Like
Yes.
there's just like it's not immersive.
play.
But and I found the best games are like there's a ping pong game, 11 Ping Pong, and it has the best like physics and everything feels like you're playing ping pong, and you can play against your friend, my cousin who lives in Alabama, and it feels like we're playing ping pong. Or there's Walkabout Mini Golf, and all those things feel great because it doesn't need to be some grand story. Half-Life Alyx was one of the few that was actually immersive in a fantasy world with length and detail into a game and fun mechanics. That game was a blast.
And Half-Life Alyx, and before that, I actually got Bone Labs.
Yeah,
what was that?
Bone
game?
Labs.
It was called something else because Bone Labs the new one. It's Bone something.
Where they first started using the physics, similar to like how
Yeah.
Half-Life.
So I got
for
that
VR.
one. I played all the way through, and then when I got to Half-Life Alyx, I was like, this isn't quite as interesting because like him in that it's not Bone Lab, it's something because they made. Bone Lab
I know exactly. Yeah, they're the same people who made. Bone Lab, right? The same developers.
So
There's an X-rated film called Bone Labs.
Yeah, we both played that. Daniel's played that one.
Yeah.
then like I was just telling my buddy Scott, we had dinner earlier. I was telling him like kind of like before I sold my Oculus because I was like getting rid of a bunch of stuff because I'm moving. So you figure out what you don't want to take with you. And I was like, I'm gonna go see the metaverse one more time to make sure I don't want to take it with me. And this has been my experience with the metaverse every time. It's usually after a few drinks, and I'm just like, what is it all about? And I go in there and I go, all right, never mind.
Yeah,
It's just
it's not a great experience.
so
they haven't figured it out.
imagine like the Nintendo Wii Miiverse, but it's like
Yeah.
middle-aged adults all standing in a circle, like talking about nothing. And then if you want, you can go watch Imagine Dragons play live, or you can go watch an old NBA game from 2 weeks ago. And it's just weird.
Which I don't know what the games look like now. There used to be an app before, I think someone bought them out, someone big name, but they would put out like highlights of old NBA games, and they like had like a deal with WWE, and they actually even had like old comedy shows. You could go in and you'd be like sitting at a table, and it'd be like watching a 3D person do comedy.
Yeah, I mean, they still kind of have
cool.
stuff like that, and that's interesting, but it's not sustainable enough to keep me coming back. It seems like it's still kind of like a proof of concept to me.
Yeah, I feel like it's also just the comfort of the headset. Because I'd spend some time where I would kick back in my chair and I'd put it on and I go into
Masturbate.
You've been waiting this whole time for that joke, haven't you? And I'd get a big screen, and then I'd put on, I'd download like Tron Legacy and watch it in 3D.
Yeah.
Have you done that in the theaters?
No.
Because it looks just like you're watching a 3D
Yeah,
theater.
I have seen the movie. It is pretty sweet.
Yeah, and it looks just like you're wear the glasses in the theater and watch it, and you can sit back and do that stuff, and it's cool. But you're sweating 30 minutes into the movie, and that's not the funnest theater.
I feel it on my bridge of my nose too. Like it's almost like painful.
Have you seen the
longevity?
Have you seen the Ray-Bans? Have you seen them?
Yeah.
I saw a footage of what the video recording looks like from them, and it's really impressive, actually.
Really?
Yeah, and they make them like transitional too, where they turn into shades and everything. I think that's what's gonna like end up getting us off of our phones eventually. Like it's just gonna end up being.
Can you talk on those? Like, is it Bluetooth?
I don't know yet. I'm sure that they're gonna add a microphone and they'll have little audio things by your
impressive.
ear. Like the Quest 2 does that, right?
Yeah.
The audio comes out and it's actually really well done.
It was cool. Yeah. But then people in the same room could hear what you were doing. Yeah. That's one thing that was cool about the original one is it was all kind of an insular experience.
Yeah.
What was the game you used to play? It was almost kind of like Fortnite, and you like got in these capsules and you shuttled down.
Population 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like teams of 3, like Apex, but you had a mechanic where you could climb buildings, and
it's
you
pretty
jumped off,
cool.
you could fly, so you could steer, and you had your little. It was arcadey shooting.
Yeah.
Did you ever play that?
No, but I just remembered Boneworks is what it was called.
Boneworks.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, Boneworks.
But just so I don't seem like I'm just ancient and playing Tomb Raider. All the From games I played through in the past couple years, Elden Ring.
Elden Ring's the best
200
game.
hours into that game.
It's the best single player game.
By the time
I've
I
ever played.
finished it, I like angrily uninstalled it because I couldn't believe I wasted that much time.
And you're gonna play it again when the DLC comes.
I'll tell you what. There was like a couple weeks last year where I had nothing going on that I started up a new game and it was too easy. So I'm like, all right, this isn't fun. Yeah, because by the time that game is all about like this is impossible. This is impossible. Then you beat it. Now your brain understands that it can be done. So
and not knowing the map early on, I love the experience of playing with my brother on Discord, and it was like we were finding these whole new areas that were way beyond where we were supposed to be, and you couldn't tell how big the map was, and you were finding yourself in a part that you were not even supposed to be near, but you're sneaking around the enemies, not even fighting anyone. And when you know everything at the second playthrough, it does ruin the experience.
I remember every time there was a new boss, I was like, "There's no way in hell that this is the boss. This is a joke. They're gonna let me try from a different angle." It's like, no, this is it.
Yeah,
you have to defeat this thing.
Yeah. It's the greatest game of all time.
Did you ever get into Resident Evil?
I was just about to bring that up.
Yes.
Too. Huge Resident Evil fan. Last year, the RE4 remake came out. Leading up to that, I replayed all of them, which I've done many times. I love the remakes. They're so cool. Talk about growing up with those games and just seeing them with a fresh coat of paint and just being like, whoa.
Yeah, I remember when the first Resident Evil came out. One, it was super scary. But when they redone it all, I was like, wow, this is like intense. The graphics were way more.
And that was like 2002, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that one. That was good too. Resident Evil's great. And I just remember, this ties back into the Oculus. I actually got the Oculus Quest to play Resident Evil 4 VR.
Yeah. My first time playing Resident Evil 4 was on the Wii.
Me too.
With the aim
not the
mechanic.
Wii, it was the GameCube.
I like that. It seems like they treat those games with care, which
they really do. Yeah, and I feel like Konami is attempting to do that with Silent Hill.
Yeah,
but Konami historically doesn't give a shit about their IPs.
Yeah,
or the creators. So,
yeah, that's great to see. Dan, what's the last video game? Well, you played Fortnite.
Yeah. I'm just not in the nerdy zone, I'm more in the dirty zone. The only game other than Fortnite that I've played in a while is maybe Call of Duty. I did play the new Sonic here recently because my son's 7. It's kind of hard for me, but I haven't played Sonic in years. I played Sonic on the PS5. The graphics are intense, but it's so fast paced, and my brain is not built like Sonic's fast. You know what I mean?
It's in the name.
He's fast as fuck, boy. And when he's going around them loops and the coins, and you get hit and coins are going everywhere, it's like, dude, my brain. Oh my god, slow down. Like, put this in slow motion for me for a minute. But it was. It's fun. It just brought back some memories of like Sega.
Yeah, I prefer the 2D.
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
the 3D is like where it's too much.
It's too much, especially like when the river monsters are coming out at you and knocking down the rock walls. I'm sounding kind of nerdy right now.
Congratulations,
Thanks.
Daniel, you
crossed over. But yeah, that's really all that I've played.
It's tough. I mean, it's really tough. Like the only time I can really find a like game is like 1 a.m. You know,
And just finding the
I just talked
time.
about Elden Ring doing that for 200 hours. That was like an event.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think everybody stopped what they were doing for like 6 months when that game came out.
Deservingly so, which is
Yeah.
nice to see that a game who puts that much effort behind their development get that much respect, because I guess you worry like the way games are made, like monetization and everything of everything, that you worry that it gets cheapened and that they're too much thinking about that. And Elden Ring didn't seem like they.
Yeah, somebody just comes and be like, "No, here's the game."
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the DLC, have you looked at it much?
Nah, I'm going to.
What does DLC stand for?
Downloadable content.
Content. So extra, right? But it's like $40 for the extra content for this game. So it's going to be like a whole actual piece.
The
of
only
game.
kind of code I remember, code name, code talk, was a map pack.
Yeah.
Call of Duty.
Yeah. Map pack is DLC.
Yeah.
And I wish Call of Duty brought that back, because that's one
Yeah,
thing
those
I
map
hate
packs are
about them
sweet.
is they promise all these maps on the last one and then they don't bring it out. I'd rather pay $10 and get the maps than
Just make them later.
yeah, than just shove another game in my face a year later.
I think the last game like that I played was Halo 4 when it just came out. And even then, it gotten so evolved and the people had gotten so like, Twitch reflexes that I couldn't handle it. So I can't imagine where it's at now.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Have you heard of Escape from Tarkov? It's like the game I'm super into, or was. It's like an ultra military sim. It's made by a Russian company. It's like you go in, you load up your loot from your stash, and you go in, and if you die, you lose all of it. And you can loot people, and you go to extract. And it was super, super intense. But the beauty of it, it came out at a time when I was like in my late 20s, and all the kids were playing Fortnite and Apex and have already ruined that game for me, because I just can't keep up with the reflex time. And this game was a game that was like, it had physics to where you couldn't even move fast if you wanted to. And
Kind of like Gears of War. Gears of War was that way too.
yeah, you had clunky mechanics to where it was harder to be more. But kids figure it out now. Kids just figure it out. And like their brains work that way.
Rocket League.
Oh, I played Rocket League still. I played it today.
That's intense. I can't score for shit. Have you ever played Rocket League?
Yeah, when it first came out, I played it, and I was like, "This is
Terrible.
cool," and then never played it again. I mean, it seemed cool. I mean,
Yeah.
but,
I mean, it's the concept is super cool, but it is super hard for me. I'm terrible.
The beauty of that game is it has simple mechanics to where you can
it's just soccer with cars, right?
massive skill gap though. Like for how simple the controls are, you can
What do
be
they say?
really
Like
crappy.
easy to pick up, hard to master.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is a beauty of a great game, in my opinion.
Well, I know we're talking a lot about video games, which is totally cool, but we got off the Oculus. Now I'm looping us back in. I got a cool story about the Oculus real quick. So we ordered an Oculus for Cadence. It was like the 2, was that the Quest
Probably.
2 or
Yeah,
something?
Quest 2.
So we ordered it. Well, we ordered it through Walmart, and evidently we got the email and it was like, your delivery has been delivered. It was not at the front door. It was nowhere to be found. It wasn't at the next door neighbors. If something gets delivered, it might be around somewhere. Gone. So we email Walmart, and they submit like the refund request and all this. We're like, we'll just order a new one, whatever. Well, the next day it appears at the front door. So then they've processed the refund. So we got Walmart, if you're listening, don't bill me now, but we got a free Oculus and we got our money.
So
we got our money back.
Wow.
Well, we didn't get 2. We just got the 1.
Oh, I see.
But they did refund us. It was kind of cool.
That's cool.
Damn, you just scammed them.
Yeah, pretty
Oh.
much.
He wasn't the mastermind though. He just reaped
This
the
is his
reward.
alibi.
Did we really have it the whole time? You'll never know.
Which this actually brings back to y'all's podcast. You mentioned you worked at the movie theater.
Yeah, I did.
And I actually worked at that movie theater for a short time myself.
Okay.
And I have a short story. I worked there and I was on concessions, and we had this guy come in the middle of the day, and he wanted a hot dog.
What year is this, by the way?
Oh,
Tony probably fired you.
well, I did a no show is what happened. When the newest Ninja Turtles, like the first wave of Michael Bay Ninja Turtles came out.
So 2014.
Yeah, that's really nice. Wow, I was 20. No way, I was 24 working there. Maybe that's a chance. But I wanted a hot dog, and I don't know if it was like this when you were there, but like hot dogs were like never
We
being
didn't have
cooked.
hot dogs.
Oh, well,
We had pretzel bites and nachos.
so we had hot dogs, but you don't cook them because they just waste. And so we were
So
like,
just keep them cold.
But you put them on that little roller, right? And
It takes like 15 minutes.
it took an hour, and he was like, "I'll wait for it."
I bet he was
And
pissed.
oh yeah, he was pissed, and it got ready, and I picked up and I dropped it on the ground.
Wait, so you only did one hot dog?
No wonder you didn't show up to work the next
one
day.
hot dog was on the thing, and I told the manager, like, "You have to go tell him. I can't tell him myself."
That is like a nihilist novella you could write. I swear. It's just like 100 pages of the conversation, you watching the rolling hot dog, thinking about other things.
Slowly
Very
falling.
The very end falls on the ground.
That would be
Like-
genius.
And not just falls, it's dramatic and slow, and it just rotates as it falls.
Yeah. When I used to take home a trash bag full of popcorn, and
Yeah.
me and my brother would just let it
So
stale over a week and eat it and watch movies.
I do vaguely remember that.
A trash bag, clear.
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, because we didn't recycle popcorn.
Yeah.
They don't recycle popcorn.
No, they don't.
At least
probably
not-
best that they
At least
don't.
not at the Great Escape franchise. So.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to our favorite time of the show, Daniel.
Yes. My best friend, the one that has the greatest looks, abs of steel. I mean, you can wash clothes on these things, but hey, don't take my word for it. Check him out yourself on his OnlyFans page, Mr. Jordan Hunter.
All right. Today's word of the week is intentional. I think when you do everything with intention, you find that you can create your own mindsets. If you want to become a more grateful person, you have to set out with the intention to be a grateful person. Like we were talking about 2 weeks ago with gratitude, to spend time in the morning thinking about how grateful you are for things. And these things seep in and they come into your subconscious, and you cultivate a life that just inhabits gratefulness. And there's other things you would like in your life as well. And you have to do it with intention. You have to have mindfulness to push your life in that direction. And you'll find that when you push yourself in a direction with intention, you might end up at the destination you want to be at. And that brings me to your art. I think you find intentional art to be very important. Would it be accurate?
Yeah, I mean, I do everything with intention.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it comes through to me, at least, when I hear your stuff. And I think Daniel mentioned your record, what it's made out of. Is that plays into something with your graphic art?
Yeah, well, I mean, so a cool thing artists do is that when they press the record on a color, they give it like a snazzy name. Like I bought an album from a band called Be Your Own Pet, and their record was called Zombie Slime Green. Is that a real color? No, but they call it that. So since I do have I have forget-me-nots on the cover of my album, which is a type of flower, I called my color Pollen Yellow. Yeah.
Forget-me-nots. Why that flower? What's
I mean, see, when you break it down like this, my cover art gets very literal. So I mean, the forget-me-nots are coming out of a coffin.
Forget-me-not.
Yeah.
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 And that was Doll Me Up. And I know the line in that, you're going to have to remind me because I'm horrible with lyrics, but the Doll Me Up line is when I go, don't doll me up.
no, it's,
something that's a very, told you.
Yeah, don't doll me up when I take my bow.
When I take my bow.
Yeah.
And so I see all those intentions and I think a lot of people would just overlook it. Oh, that's a cool album art.
It's all there. It's all, if you are, if you want to get as we talk about the Charlie Day meme,
Yeah.
it's all there.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I know my platform isn't massive, and I know people aren't chomping at the bit to find out about me, but it's my intention to be if you are curious enough and you do want to know me better, you can lock the code.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah. Otherwise it's just shallow, right?
Well, it's, in your day-to-day life, you might have relationships with people who never get to know you. And I have those relationships because, I'm professional and I can't be I have all these feelings inside. No, I need to get my job done, So I feel like everybody has many sides to them. You've got each other's sides you show to each other, and you have sides you don't show. And so with my art, it's a very specific side of myself that I don't show to anybody, Maybe it's something I can't even really put in words.
Yeah.
So maybe it needs to be packaged with some, some obscure art and obscure ideas and obscure themes, and just I'm like, do you get this? Because this is me. I don't get it, but I'm maybe seeing if you can crack the code.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think sometimes I've had friends who've said maybe I've been a little too coded, you know. But
It's like a mystery.
Yeah, it's fun for me though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think when it comes down to intention, that you can develop an idea that's beyond like base level, where if you're wanting someone to feel a complicated feeling, each thing you do with the arrangement of the song, with how much space you leave in it, with how much you fill it up. Yeah. If you're intentionally choosing to do that to evoke a feeling, you have so much more, you have just a bigger range of emotions you can create into someone. Yeah. And if you're not being intentional with every detail, it's just going to end up being it could be a party song, which is great. Party songs are great. That's all I listened to when I was younger mostly. But I think as you grow as an artist and you want to, make a connection with someone, things have to be thought out. We see facades too easily, and or just like someone who's just showing you the base level. And I think that your intentions behind it, I just think it's a better way to communicate, is to have everything behind it to be intentional and to be offered.
I think better, yes. Effective, no. Maybe it's better to just be straight up with somebody, but it's a lot more fun to give somebody a treasure map. And I think one of the things I've done with all of my output throughout the years is put in so many Easter eggs for people who might be eager to find those things. I don't know. When I was a kid, I loved reading about movie trivia and like, did you know here and this and here? So I've carried that with me into my own art. Yeah.
Video games used to do it all the time with Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Intention. What does it mean to you, Daniel?
I'm going to be honest with you. I was waiting for this day since we started the podcast. Jordan comes up with these great words, and usually I have a cool little saying behind them. But today, my friends, I'm not your guy.
It's okay.
I truly, it's intentional. I don't even understand it. So let's talk about it.
Okay.
So it's your intentions to doing something.
Right. I think so. Like in normal day of life, if you were intentionally trying to be grateful, you might be more grateful in the future, but otherwise you might be a little bit more prisoner of the moment, or your feelings might take over, and that might, you're just kind of like lost in the waves of life. But I think one of the only ways to really have control over where you're headed in your mindset is to kind of intentionally choose which path you're taking, choosing I want to be a more grateful person. Therefore, I'm going to do these things to be a grateful person. I think that cultivates in your life to become those things. And it just, we just kind of feel like we're always tossed at the waves of life, of emotions, heightened emotions, and you're swinging one way and another. I think that the only real way to get out of it sometimes is to intentionally choose.
I think you nailed it.
Well, I hope so. Tony, did I? I don't know. Tony's the smartest one in the room. We need his confirmation, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, to simplify it for you, intention is, what is your motivation behind this action? So if you intentionally hit somebody, you are motivated to cause them harm. So that's the way I see intention. So what is your motivation for doing anything? What's your intention?
They nailed it. I mean, I know what intention is. It's my intention to, like you said, hurt somebody or, blow something up.
You brought up blowing things up, I think, two times in a
podcast, two podcasts in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, but explaining it is hard for me. It's my intention to love my wife,
right.
You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
What I'm saying, you can break it down. What is your motivation?
What motivates me to love my wife?
Right.
Getting laid.
Yeah. I mean, let's keep it simple. No, I mean, she takes great care of my family. She's a good mom. She's a good wife. She cares. She nurtures. You know what I mean?
You can even say love.
Mm-hmm.
It can be that simple.
Yeah. Love.
Yeah.
Love of getting laid.
So, yeah. But, you know what pisses me off, guys? There's a lot of things. I think we can all relate to this. But do you know what just makes me want to shave my head? take a skateboard to the shin. Or in other words, we like to say, twist our nips. You know what twist my nips, guys?
What, Daniel?
And y'all can relate to this. Tony's like, why did I do this podcast?
Like, what the hell was that?
Popping that G-string. And I'm not talking about panties, okay?
Well,
I'm talking about on the guitar.
Oh, yeah.
Ah.
Nothing like breaking a good old G-string because I feel like the G-string puts the icing on the cake for many chords, for me anyway. And when you don't have that, you suffer.
Yeah.
Have you ever had the G-string pop?
I haven't, but I've had the G string. It's been one of the biggest battles of my entire life, keeping that thing in tune.
Really?
Oh my God. Yeah. To me, it is the most frustrating string to tune.
I wonder why.
I don't know. I always have to tune it a little flat to make it sound right. Like,
Yeah. Heavily used string, maybe? I don't know.
I think it is heavily used. I mean, for me anyway.
Well, the G string, right? We're talking about that can make things minor and major, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would assume that it's just really noticeable when it's out because
it's
everything else
definitely
is like the
noticeable.
root, and then you got you're talking about the
It's like the middle part of that
sugar,
chord.
a little bit of the sugar
Yeah.
of it, yeah.
yeah. So I do like 5-10 cents flat, and it sounds fine. But if I tune it exactly on, it doesn't sound right. I don't know if that's like my guitars aren't set up properly, but I've had many guitars, and it's always that
We were
issue.
playing a show at Bulldogs Cafe in Louisville. It was a hardcore venue. And that night, there was a lot of pop punk bands there, and some hardcore kids came and were heavily disappointed. They would walk up to the stage as the pop punk bands would play. They would start the song, and they would hear like you could just tell if it's pop punk or not. And for one, it wasn't in drop D, or drop C, right? And so then they would start the song, and then these like little hardcore kids would walk off stage. But anyways, long story short, my G string broke, and Jordan had to save the show with, I don't know if he saved it or made it worse, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But you
was just
told
dumping the
a
water
couple
over
jokes, you know, or
Did
at
I
least
tell
a
jokes?
joke.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. I can only
But
imagine.
if you're playing pop punk, couldn't you feasibly have just survived with,
The first three strings, yeah. Well, we did a lot of
octaves.
octaves, yeah.
And that G string is vital.
Mm-hmm. And it just sounded shitty when it popped, I
We
guess.
probably weren't even, I don't even think
Probably
we
threw
had,
the other strings out of tune.
Yeah.
I don't think we even had tuning pedals at that time.
No.
Back then. We were just straight up.
With
plug
the
and
clip
go.
on. We would actually tune, like the old school way of tuning, as long as you get your E string, you can tune the rest of your
yourself,
guitar.
yeah.
So we tuned it to whatever the E string was tuned to.
Yeah. By ear. Which
Yeah.
Even to this day, I don't trust my ear at times.
It's funny. But have you ever had a string break while playing or anything like that?
What's a disaster you had on I don't hate to bring it up, but what's a disaster you
Let's
had
talk about
on
it.
live
All right,
show?
so there's this little show called Jimmy Fallon.
Okay.
What's the full
think I
title?
played that back in
Live
the day.
Tonight with Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
Something.
Aired all over the world, I imagine.
Yeah. So if there was a time for something to go wrong with my guitar, it shouldn't have been that time, but it did. So when you were on this little TV show called Jimmy Fallon, they give you a few run-throughs before you play, and every run-through we did of the song went perfect. It was fine. Also, New York City is unionized in the entertainment. I don't quite understand it, but you're not allowed to touch your own gear. So like when you roll up to NBC, the guys who are there to load and unload, only they can touch it. And you tell them where to move it, which is great because you're like, I don't want to touch that stuff anyway.
I wonder if it has to do with like liability, like if you were to trip and fall while you're on set.
I think it's something. I mean, I don't really quite understand.
I like to touch my own gear.
But I know it's something to do with, making sure that the people who are paid to do the work. And that way they continue to have jobs. And I guess that's the point of a union. I'm not quite sure. But so
They boned you.
they started up and they had, I don't know, they have people in like a cage around you. That was neat.
Wow.
But
Like up top?
yeah, I don't remember. It's all kind of fuzzy now. But immediately nothing came out of my guitar, and it's live TV, or it's not live.
Like first stroke of the song.
Yeah, the whole thing. Like I think it was kind of going out. But I can't be like, Jimmy, hold on a second.
You should have.
Yo, Jimmy.
We got to troubleshoot these guitar issues. And so I kind of made a very quick decision in that moment to just be like, well, we're faking it, because I think flailing on live TV would be immensely worse than your guitar.
So this is a conversation going on in your head.
I mean,
or you just
a conversation in the most like primal way.
Cool.
Like, oh shit. Yeah. And I think I did kind of like knock it a few times and hear it crack will come in. But yeah, I mean, so whatever like peak of my career that was, it was immediately like crushed.
Do you have anxiety?
Oh, back then I think it was just regular anxiety. Mm-hmm. In my early 30s, it got to be real anxiety. I had got diagnosed with general anxiety disorder, and I'm definitely over the hump of that. I can manage it a lot better now. But no, back then, I think I was just medicated on so much beer, I didn't really care. That's an age when you're early 20s to where your whole diet can be beer and you're totally fine. I, weighed 155 and looked fine. So, but no, and there was beer backstage. So I think it was just one of those things. It was like, oh shit, this sucks. Yeah. This is a bummer. I mean, I had butterflies, but.
Butterflies. Yeah. That seems like a downplay of Playing Jimmy.
Isn't that a song? Butterflies?
I'm sure. Oh, Owl City?
Owl City, yeah.
But also around that time, I was still smoking cigarettes around that time, but I was trying to quit during that time. I just turned 25. And I remember I really wanted to quit smoking by the age of 25. So I turned 25 on the road and quit smoking on my birthday. And we went to a Samuel Adams brewery. So what's the first thing you want to do when you're drinking? Is you want to smoke a cigarette. So that was brutal. And then I remember I don't have my little handicap crutch, my cigarettes. Then I'm about to go on Jimmy Fallon. So the whole day was kind of a disaster. But that was my biggest upset for sure. Yeah. But you wouldn't know it. I mean,
what year was that?
2011 or 12,
okay.
12 maybe.
I can only imagine because that sounds like such a top of the mountain to me.
Yeah, and it was it was ruined immediately. Because whatever, even if somebody was that was the best thing I've ever seen, it was incredible, you guys cured my cancer, whatever, I would have been oh, it sucked for me though. Because I essentially pantomimed on stage.
What song did you play? Do you remember?
It was called Get Burned.
Get Burned. Yeah. Okay, I remember. Yeah. And that's pretty guitar heavy, lead.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, Josh, the lead guitarist, and I do somewhat the same thing.
Okay.
He just does a more articulate version of what I do, but at the same time, it's supposed to be kind of powerful, and you need two guitars to get that power. Oh, then man. I still sang. I sang half the vocals on that song, so I still had something to do. But
did y'all play Letterman as well?
We did. We actually played Letterman at the very end of our career, and we did Waves on Letterman, and that was the opposite. It went so well. It went incredibly well.
That's the one I like listening to, the live version of Waves.
That was such a great experience, and that was kind of a vindication. Or
nice.
Was that before or after Fallon?
It was after. It was 2 years after.
Kimmel, right?
I think that was...
No, Fallon was first, and then,
you played Fallon?
We did Fallon.
Fallon,
yeah.
okay.
Have I been saying Kimmel?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
No. I was just thinking it probably.
He's dreaming.
Yeah, sorry.
But yeah,
it's the hair.
Letterman, I definitely, I felt a lot better about that.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's a dream. And during that era too, where late night Letterman.
Yeah, and that was his last. That was his last year, and I remember thinking. Very, very lucky to do that. And I was outside still smoking a cigarette at this era of my life. Some guy came up to me and he's like, "You're playing the Ed Sullivan Theater tonight." I'm like, "Yep." He's like, "That's where the Beatles played." And I was like, "Oh shit, this is serious."
That's cool.
Like, okay, well, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Did when you were on Fallon, did he have the Roots back then?
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was cool because I'm sitting there, and when you do something like that, your whole team is there to support you and also drive you crazy.
Yeah.
So you got your manager, your label, booking agent, whoever, and those places, those studios, like NBC Studios, are much smaller than you think they are.
Really?
If you go to the studio where SNL is made, it's maybe two of these rooms. Wow. And so we're sitting in the hall because, you know, our green room's small and there's so many people spilling out of it. And I just see Questlove walking down the hallway. And everybody just kind of stops what they're doing and just looks at Questlove. And he just kind of like starts laughing, walking down the hall. And I think it's like, what is this, Soul Train? He's like, why is everybody like lined up looking at me?
That's funny. That's hysterical. I love it. So what's, you know, before we end, what's next for Tonyboyy? Like, you know, now's your chance to tell the world what you got going on. And when I say the world, I mean all 46 of you listening.
46?
Yeah. No, but seriously, like, what is next for you? Do you plan to release more music, create more music videos? You know, what's your end goal here?
Well, I don't have a goal. It's just right now at this point in my life, it's a compulsion. You know, why do you do this? You feel a need to.
Yeah, I love it. Like I have a passion in it. It's something I enjoy. Yeah. So I guess it'd be the same for you then.
Yeah, it's a compulsion. And I don't feel correct if I don't do it. I feel off, and I feel like something's weird. And it does cause some anxiety if I'm just sitting around here not doing it. But all that to say, I've got a whole nother album written. Just gonna do that.
Awesome.
Moving to Jersey, gonna make my Jersey album. Just made my Nashville album, make a Jersey album.
Cool. What do you have any aesthetics that you're kind of thinking about?
Yeah. Just 2 guitars, bass, drums.
Yeah.
Just maybe some piano, but just straight back to basics.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because you used quite a bit of piano and synths on this.
Yeah, I mean, originally it was going to be all synths, and then I was.
Oh, really?
Well, might as well.
Yeah.
What's a little guitar?
Well, I got into I was pretty much hell bent on just doing synths and like acoustic, and then I got one guitar pedal, which became another amp, which became a whole room of amps, which became, you know, an obsession.
A waste of money if you don't put it on the album.
Yeah, and then you buy all this stuff, and then you feel like you have to use it, and then you don't end up using any of it, and you sell it. So it's kind of the musician's cycle of life.
Yeah.
Well, I think what you do, and I said it on After School with the Lawsons, I'll say it on Daniel and Jordan. I think what you do is great. I think you're great at what you do. Sorry about my voice. I hit puberty yesterday.
Second puberty.
Yeah. But I think you're great, you know, especially the whole mindset behind the art and just the mysteriousness of it. From the album cover, it's not just a yellow record. You know, there's a story behind it. There's a story behind the coffin. There's a story behind the flower. And for you to just think that deep in it, you know, that's a very special thinker. It's a very special person that, you know, causes your brain to work in that way. And I think a lot of it is released through your music, and you can tell, and not just your music, but your production as well, your videos. And, you know, it's just the circle. It creates that circle. And I think you're very talented for, you know, creating the music, creating the art, album art, and then releasing the production aspect of it. You know, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say.
Nobody else wants to do it for you unless you pay them a lot of money.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah, and I really respect a lot of your mindset behind your work. I really, you know, there's not a lot of people who put that much effort without money being a motivator. Yeah. And it's nice to see that for the love of the art, that you respect it and you love it. And it's like there's just no argument to be made that you're not an artist.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I did my taxes back in January. So I got to see how much money I spent doing the whole thing, promoting it, pressing it, recording it versus how much I made. And it's hilarious. So it's definitely not a good business decision to make your own albums.
Well, you can write it off.
I totally did.
That's my man, because
I got paid really well for writing.
But I really do appreciate having people like you. I think that older generations need to pass that on to younger as well.
The one through line I've seen throughout my entire career as a musician is that there are certain types of musicians and artists who there's an expectation they have out of making their art, and I feel like that sets them up for failure. Whether the motivation is money or, you know, any sort of fame that might come from an indie musician, whatever admiration. And I see a lot of talented people become really depressed drunks or become really depressed, angry people or really resentful or cynical people because they feel like their art wasn't validated. And I think at like a fundamental level, they set themselves up for that just because they had that expectation. Your motivation should just be to make art, make music. I never made a cent off my music. Even when I was on Letterman, I wasn't making any money. Now, everything in my fiber of my being should say, all right, that's a terrible idea. Don't do that ever again. Go be a lawyer or something. I'm just not wired that way. And the only reason I ever got as far as I did is because I just kept doing it. So what I would tell any kid or adult is just, you only fail if you quit doing it.
Yeah.
That's the only way you fail. Because if you keep doing it to the day you die, nobody can say you failed. Like, oh, he was still doing it.
Yeah.
We were talking about that last episode about what defines success for you. You know what I mean? And I think it kind of wraps in like, you define your success. If you feel like what you're doing is to the best of your potential, then you're successful at what you do.
Yeah.
Does that link up with anything that you said?
There's this very philosophical quote from this incredible movie called Bridesmaids. At some point, the love interest guy is Australian. He's hilarious. I can't remember his name. But he's like trying to get Kristen Wiig to start baking again. This is a subplot of the movie. You guys seen Bridesmaids?
It's been years.
Okay. Well,
I got a wife.
let me break down the plot for Bridesmaids real quick. Kristen Wiig used to be this incredible baker. She co-owned this bakery with her husband. They got divorced. It fell apart. She quit baking. Okay. But even though she was really talented at it.
Oh,
this
God.
cop
Breaks
who
my
pulls her over, recognizes her, be like, oh, I used to make those amazing cakes. What happened? She's like, well, life kind of hit me and, business fell apart, got divorced. Anyway, he's like egging her on, being like, you should really quit, start baking again. She gets really resentful about it. And she's like, who the fuck do you think you are? I'm not going to bake cakes anymore.
Yeah, fuck that.
And then he's like, hey, just because you didn't make money at it doesn't mean you failed at it. And that hits home with me.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. We were talking about like measuring success, and it sucks that at this point in my life, it's like we're trying this, and if we're being honest, I need to make money.
Yeah.
Like you have to make money, and that's the sad thing that artists are thrown into is this conundrum where what do you choose, and then what's the line of sellout? And then that complicates everything. That's playing in your head, and it does suck that deep down the truth, I think we all know that it is about the art, and selling out is just not going to give you really any satisfaction. Now, I'd like to be able to afford a house and to support my family, but I'm jealous of a person who finds this content and works whatever job they can to pay for that, and then the art it's like pure almost by being left out of that realm. Yeah. And I'm just so jealous of that contentment.
This is more advice I would give to anybody who makes art. Get a job. Get that off the table.
I already hate this advice.
No. Do not make your income based around your art. You will hate your art. You'll resent your art. You won't love it anymore, and your art will suffer because of it. Get a job, even if you hate it, whether it's sweeping or, plumbing, whatever. But the moment that your art doesn't define your finances is the moment you're free to make whatever you want. But if somebody's like, hey, well, you don't quite sound like Billie Eilish enough, so we're not going to pay you $1 million, then you don't go in that like conundrum of like, well, do I tailor my art to sound more like Billie Eilish, or do I not give a fuck and just keep being me?
Yeah.
I think people get really tied up because you want a house.
So is there I guess so. We're just talking about unless you're extremely talented and you can just do that and everything's great. Is there a way,
Tony?
Yeah. Is there a way to marry the two and to not go through the conundrum of wanting to sound like Billie Eilish and all that, and just be like, I am going to continuously make my music? Do you think that there is a route of success as a full-time is that only reserved for the ultra talented?
that's the holy grail, right?
Right.
I mean, if somebody came tomorrow and said, "Hey, I want you to spend every, moment of your waking life making music or videos or art, and I'm going to pay you handsomely for it," then shit, yeah, let's do that. But I would say there's the cream of the crop. Even the people that we think are like they won in there.
Yeah.
They're still,
Falling in and out of relevancy.
$60,000 a year, and they have to tour, and touring sucks. I don't care what anybody says. It's not fun. Like, it sounds like fun when you're younger, getting in a van with your friends and going all over the country. But even when you're younger, it sucks. Yeah. It's only fun if you've got cushy ass tour managers and everything's, we were talking about Weezer earlier. Mm-hmm. I did a lot of shows with Weezer. Those shows were fun because they had catering and everybody got their own dressing room, and they had signs like Spinal Tap showing you where to go,
That sounds pretty sweet.
But that's still the top. So that's the top. And what you have to look forward to at that point is like every arena looks the same. And that becomes your life. I've had musicians like call it Groundhog Day because every day is the same. I don't know, man. There's no answer. Just find what makes you happy.
I think I've learned a lot. It's nice to hear a mindset of someone who's been there. And really jealous. I saw Weezer follows your sleeper agent account.
Do they?
On Instagram. I mean, that's a big deal to me.
Yeah.
That's cool. So have you talked to Rivers?
No. I mean, I was around, I was orbiting around Rivers for, a few times, and I'm not one of those people that goes, "Hey, what's up?"
And he's not that guy probably either.
No, he's definitely not that guy. All I ever really see him do was dribble soccer balls.
Really?
Yeah, so he would just take the space outside the stage and kind of dribble a soccer ball.
That's cool.
Scott Schreiner, the bass player, he was very, very talkative.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people that who really wanted to meet my idols too much.
Yeah,
like Wilco is one of my favorite bands of all time, and there was a couple shows when we like radio festivals that we were on where we shared the stage, and I would just be like, all right, I'm going to leave this area until I know they're no longer near me.
Yeah,
I love Jeff Tweedy. I've read all of his books, and it's like I don't want to shatter this idea in my mind of Jeff Tweedy. But if I go and he like soft handshakes me, limp fists me, I'm gonna be like, fuck Jeff Tweedy.
You hear that, Jeff?
Yeah.
I don't like
little Tweedy handshake he gives you there.
Let me preserve Jeff Tweedy. I don't want to talk to Jeff Tweedy. I want to listen to Jeff Tweedy sing beautiful songs.
Yeah. Yankee Hotel Foxtrot was my brothers grew me up on that. Yeah, very influential for me.
To piggyback off of what Tony said, as far as being successful and making money off what you do and what you love, just like I kind of broke down on our podcast last episode, and regardless of if we make a cent from this, like this has helped me as a person. I know it's funny and fun and games, and we talk about dicks. Sex with men.
Mostly dicks.
but I mean,
sex. It's just the dicks.
It's comical. It's funny. We have a great time. This is my best friend. And the most powerful part of it is the word of the week for me, and how we talk about focus and trajectory and judgment. And what was the big word today? Intention. And just, there's so many powerful words, and you don't take the time to think of those words until someone's like, hey, let's talk about focus, or let's talk about gratitude. What are you thankful for? And you don't set aside time to do those things because we're so busy working the 9 to 5, or shuttling kids to practice, or cooking dinner for the family, or making sure I'm loving my wife. But for that hour that we sit down once a week on Sunday, it's so special to me. And, I fucking love it. And if I don't make a penny from here, that alone is powerful for me. Like, that is success to me. It's making me a better person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think of it as our agnostic Bible study.
Yeah.
So it's just a time to
What's that word mean? Glad that's not the word of the week.
Yeah, but it's good because, like we were talking, just introspection. It's something that, I think it separates people. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of people in the world who just don't do enough introspection to figure yourself out. and to like just learn about yourself and to know what motivates you, know what your intentions are. I think this is a great time for us to do that. And it's always something we've gained from it.
Yeah. And we're 33. It's like, I feel like I started to mature in, right around 30 for me. And really kind of this year is just really kind of like hit me upside the head. And I don't know if it was, my daughter's 2. A lot of it kind of happened when she was born. Maybe has something to do with that. But, I don't know what it is. I just feel like we're getting old, man. I'm ready to go sit at the Waffle House, drink some coffee, and talk about life. And I've made so many mistakes through my life. And all the things that I kind of know now are built around those mistakes. And I just feel like this is just making me a better person at the end of the day. I'm not perfect, but I'm far better this week than I was 6 months ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would say, though, you're just beginning. I mean, talk about some wisdom coming up,
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
so, this is, I think, a normal part of the 30s.
This is just like phase 2, right?
Oh, okay.
Sweet.
Yeah. Bring it on!
I was kind of hoping we were going into retirement, too. Like, I think we figured life out. Can we just kind of,
move into the old folks' home, see my mom.
Smoke a joint.
But yeah, man, thanks so much for coming down. Super excited to see your next album come out. Just even talking about it's gonna get me the jitters. Awesome with the video. I think it's super cool.
Thank you.
I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see more art and try to unlock those little Easter eggs.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
I probably won't because I'm not that smart, clearly, but it's cool to think about. There. I'm going to be looking at it being like, what the hell's he trying to tell me?
Yeah, and if you ever need anything, you're always welcome back on the show or anything like that.
Yeah. You got anything else, my man?
I think that's going to wrap it up for me.
Tony, anything?
Still got some signed copies of the LP on sale at noirancolorcreative.com/store.
Nice.
Get them.
Yeah, we'll put the link in there.
Yeah. Stream it on Spotify and Apple Music.
Yeah.
Put that shit on silent and on loop.
Tonyboyy, 2 Y's. What's the decision behind that, real quick?
There's already a Tonyboyy.
Well, that's good enough for me.
Also, I mean, like you mentioned waves earlier. Yeah. And there's there's waves and there's always and there's churches. One of the deciding factors of band names for me in the MySpace era was doing myspace.com/my band name idea. Oh, it's already taken. So, now there's everything's taken. So let's just,
weird way to spell it.
That is true.
And also what can I add that's extra that won't change the phonetic sound of it?
Right.
So,
Yeah. All right, Tonyboyy, doll me up. Yeah. Check it out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this episode, if you enjoyed the music, talk, and the discussion, the word of the week, the comedy behind it, send it to somebody. That's all we ask. We benefit from it individually, and we would hope that you benefit from it as well. But mostly important, just send it to somebody who needs a good laugh, because we may not be that smart, but we're damn funny. Until next time, I'm Daniel.
I'm Jordan.
And we're Daniel and Jordan. We'll see you next time. Oh, and that's Tony, by the way.
I won't be here next time.